Why? Just why? Now I'll be the first to say that when I heard there was going to be a Kung Fu Panda 4, I was ecstatic. I grew up watching the original trilogy, and I'll give my personal thoughts on each. The first Kung Fu Panda film is one of the best DreamWorks films ever made, and I stand by that. I love Poe as a character. Tai Lung is one of the best DreamWorks villains ever made, and personally, I just like the general themes of the movie. The movie basically says it doesn't matter how big or how tall you are, anybody can do anything they want as long as they believe in themselves. And personally, that's just a scratch on the surface. I love the Furious Five. I just love the way they just react to Poe getting chosen as the Dragon Warrior. But honestly, I feel bad for Tai Lung. And speaking of Tai Lung, he's one of the best, villains all around. The way he's effortlessly escapes that prison scene was one of the best things I ever saw as a child. And I stand by that. And personally, the final battle between him and Poe is one of the funniest fights you will ever see in your life. Trust me. And personally, the first film just has a special place in my heart. But personally, I think the second movie tops it and does things a lot better than it. But that's just my opinion. So let me talk about the second one real quick. Where do I begin with this movie? Okay, I'll talk about Lord Shin later because, well, you'll see. But personally, this is the darkest one of the trilogy, if you ask me, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only one. This film dives a lot into Poe's backstory, like where he came from, how did he get into the Valley of Peace, and basically his connection to the villain Lord Shen. And this movie has a lot of action-packed scenes to prove it. The action in this film is just amazing. The way it flips between different scenes and settings is just awesome. The art style in this movie is second to none, in my opinion. Out of all the DreamWorks films, I say this movie has the best art design of all of them. Even if some people don't agree with me, but still. And personally, the ending of the film where Poe finds inner peace is just awesome. The message of this movie is that the past doesn't affect who you are, it's the future that matters. And personally, I think that's a really good message to teach the kids. So let's get into the last one, and personally, my personal favorite, Kung Fu Panda 3. Kung Fu Panda 3 is the most controversial one in the series because a lot of people like it and a lot of people hate it, but me personally, it's my favorite of the series because of a lot of factors. You see, the reason I like Kung Fu Panda 3 is because, well, I just think it's just a great movie. It's got great humor, great animation, great characters, and while the villain isn't the best in the series, I just really like Kai as a villain. I'll talk about him later when discussing the chameleon, but you get the idea. Now, me personally, what makes Kung Fu Panda 3 work for me is because of the ending. The ending of the film is just beautiful. The entire fight with Poe and Kai is just awesome. Poe finding out that he is the Dragon Warrior, and it doesn't matter who he is. He's all of them. And that's what I like about him. Poe is just a character that just really just bounces off what setting you put him in. At one point, he's a goofy guy who just loves hanging out with his friends, and second, he's just a badass warrior who can just kick anyone's butt. He's just my favorite DreamWorks protagonist, and we'll talk about how the fourth movie messed him up, but still. And personally, that's what I like about Kung Fu Panda 3. But I've been putting this off for a while, so let's talk about Kung Fu Panda 4. Oh, and sorry about my stuttering. Now, when it comes to Kung Fu Panda 4, man, this movie is bad. Okay, in my defense, this isn't the worst DreamWorks movie ever. Trust me, Megamind 2 has that covered. But still, when compared to the original three, it's just not that good. First of all, let's get into things I like about the movie. First of all, I like the humor a little bit, but a lot of it doesn't really do it for me. I like the animation, but it's not as good as the third one. And I like Ping and also I wish the Furious Five was here, but they're not. So I like the song, but I like the song, and I think the action in this movie is pretty good, especially when Poe versus the chameleon. And no, that's really it, really. As for things I didn't like, we're gonna be here for a while. First of all, let's get into the minor things I hate about this movie. Let's start with Poe. Now, see, in the original trilogy, Poe was one of my favorite protagonists ever. He just had this compassion to him. Like in the first movie, he was just a naive protagonist who just wanted to learn kung fu. In the second movie, he's the same guy, but he learns to control his past and his future, and eventually accepts himself as an adopted child, and loves his father even more. In the third movie, he learns to become the Dragon Warrior in his own way, and accepts that he has two fathers, and he also becomes a teacher in his own way as well. But the fourth movie, my God, they really messed my boy up. In the fourth movie, Poe is just a naive child. a naive person in this film. He doesn't retain any of the knowledge from the third movies, and he's just a naive person. And personally, he makes stupid decisions in this movie as well, like so many. I don't want to say it because, me personally, I don't remember that movie that well, and that's another negative of this movie. It's pretty forgettable, but still. Anyway, Poe is he just stepped back to his first roots. Like he's just a person that just doesn't know what he's doing in this movie, to be honest. And personally, who we picked to be the Dragon Warrior is just okay. Let's talk about Zen in this movie. Zen is this fox girl who Poe meets somewhere in the movie. She's this fox girl who was abandoned as an orphan, and she found the chameleon as a well. She's a thief, and that's all I remember about her. But anyway, she's not bad, and personally, she's actually pretty funny in this film. She got some great quips. She's really good at fighting, and she's friends with Poe. So yeah, not that great. But still, why did Poe pick her to be the Dragon Warrior? Like seriously, man, you literally just met this girl, and you've only known her for like a few days, probably even a week, and you pick her to give Uguay staff to? Really, man? But anyway, the rest of the side characters in this movie are pretty boring. The other ones I liked personally were those rabbit children that can become vicious. I just like them. They're so weird and just silly that I personally like them. But still, and oh, there is one more thing about this movie that I really hate. Okay, remember how I told you guys that Tai Lung, Lord Shen, and Kai were some of the best villains ever made? Well, there is one more, and she's just awful. Let's talk about the chameleon. And personally, I got a lot to say about her. So let's get started. Okay, so where do I start with the chameleon? Well, let's talk about the things I like about her. I like her design. It's pretty great. I like how she can turn into other people when she absorbs their chi, which isn't really that explained that much. And no, that's really it. Oh, and I like the different forms she turns into. And the final form and the final fight with Poe is pretty great. But that's really it. As for things I didn't like, well, first of all, let's compare it to the other villains of this series. I'm sure I'm not the only person that's done this, but let me get my own thoughts of it. When you see the other three Kung Fu Panda villains, what do they all have in common? Well, I'll tell you. They're great. They're awesome, they're intimidating, and they just have their own unique presence to them. Let's talk about Tai Lung. As I mentioned before, Tai Lung is just a compelling villain. When you really look at his backstory, he's kind of a tragic villain too. I mean, imagine you were raised through your whole life to be like a master prodigy, and you rise to the ranks, learning everything you can about Kung Fu. Eventually, till you discovered that you were trained out to receive a title that your father could never give to you. Just depressing. Of course, he would lash out. But what I really like about Tai Lung is that he's just this guy, you get why he turned evil, but you also hate him because of the things he's doing. I mean, he's doing all this because of his anger, and personally, that's pretty sympathetic. And he just been in prison for like 20 years, and he just has so much rage and fear towards Shifu. It's just compelling, and the fight with him and Shifu is just amazing. Great cinematography, great animation, and the way the two just bounce off each other is just impressive. It's just compelling. And most importantly, Tai Lung's fighting style is just impressive. The way he easily bodies the Furious Five and just humiliates them is just impressive. And again, these are five of China's greatest martial artists. Even though they lose in every movie, you still got to give them credit. They put up a half decent fight. And personally, Tai Lung is just an amazing villain because of the way he just bounces off the movie. He's just got this personality to him that's so ruthless and compelling, but also got some nice comedy out of him too. He's just a great villain. But with Lord Shen, oh my god. First of all, Lord Shen is just the darkest villain of the series. The way he connects to Poe is just impressive. I mean, think about it. This man was so scared of a prophecy that probably would have came true, that he literally genocided every panda in existence just off of paranoia alone. If that isn't scary, I don't know what is. But most importantly, Lord Shen just has this demeanor to him. Like everything he says just has some kind of sinister meaning behind it. The way he just quippers sometimes, the way he just gulps sometimes, is just impressive. If you really think about it, him and Poe are just opposites of each other. Poe is a guy who just loves enjoying life, just has fun with his friends, and just loves kung fu. Shen is the opposite of that. He's a guy who wants to control everything, and he doesn't care what he needs to do in order to do it. He'll literally kill his own loyal companions if it means getting what he wants. It's just sad. And the final conversation between him and Poe at the end is just really giving up their mindsets. Just impressive. And again, Lord Shen is just so scary. He just has a sense of realism to him. The way he just nonchalantly destroys his own home with his own cannons. The way he just tosses around his bodyguards is just ouch. And now we get to Kai. Now, a lot of people say Kai is the weakest villain, but I don't think they'll say that anymore after they say the chameleon. But Kai, I really like Kai. While he doesn't have that much of a deep backstory compared to Lord Shen and Tai Lung, his backstory still gives him motivation, unlike some people. So Kai's backstory is that he used to work with Shifu as a commanding officer to him. He and Shifu used to lead a great army where they I don't know what they did, but eventually Shifu got hurt in an ambush. And Kai literally carried his best friend for days. Yes, days on a freezing cold mountain trying to find help. Now that's determination. Eventually till the two came to this village in the mountains. A village of pandas. And yes, they were pandas. Eventually, they managed to heal Shifu. Sorry. Anyway, but Kai wanted the power all to himself, and he learned how to reverse cheat, taking it for himself, until eventually Shifu had to stop him, literally banishing him to the spirit world. And Kai's been there for like 500 years, waiting for his rematch, eventually until he gets it with Shifu in this epic battle in the beginning. It's just amazing. Kai is just these characters who's just really menacing. Not only is he big and intimidating, his color palette is just incredible. Which is another thing these villains have in common. When you look at the color palette of the Kung Fu Panda villains, they all have different styles to them. Tai Lung has blue, Lord Shen has red, and Kai has green. And they all have different symbolisms to them. With Tai Lung, the blue emphasizes this fiery passion and his sympathetic nature and his ruthlessness. Lord Shen has red because his fiery passion to destroy things and control things and hurt other people is just unmatched. And Kai, his green represents his enviness towards Oogway. How he wants everything he has, but will destroy his legacy because he destroyed his. And sorry that I've been stuttering again. Anyway, back to Kai. And let me get the one thing clear. Kai has the best theme out of any Kung Fu Panda villain. I don't want to hear it. His theme just makes him so cool. He has some of the best dramatic entrances I have ever seen in a film. He's just so cool. And you know he's the shit when he literally just ignores the Wuxi finger hold. Ouch. And just mocks Poe for trying to do it to him. And each death for the villain is just amazing. Tai Lung dies because Po Wuxi fingered him. Lord Shen just accepts his fate by getting crushed by his cannon, and Kai just literally explodes by absorbing too much chi from Po. Wow, when Po kills someone, he really means it. Oh man, that's harsh. But personally, all three of these villains are just amazing, and they really connect some way to the movie anyway. But the chameleon, she doesn't have any of that. First of all, let's talk about her backstory. Now, the reason the chameleon is doing this is one of the most ugh, stupid reasons to become evil ever. You see, the reason she's evil is because she wanted to learn Kung Fu. But get this, she was quote unquote too small. Yeah, she was too small to learn Kung Fu. First of all, if she was too small, that's just ridiculous. The girl is at least, I think, about a few feet tall, and literally, mantis exist in this universe. The guy's a mantis. The guy's barely taller than this World Cup. So you're saying she was too small? Seriously? That just goes against the general themes of this franchise. Anybody can learn Kung Fu and can do anything they want, height, size, and otherwise. So saying she was too small to learn Kung Fu is just ridiculous. But even still, the things she does in this movie are just childish and just boring. Okay, let me explain. You see, first impressions of a villain are everything. The audience has to connect to the villain the first time they see him. The first thing the villain does matters everything. And the Kung Fu Panda villains get this just right. I mean, with Tai Lung, the first thing you see this man do is literally escape out of a high velocity prison. This prison is called the Escapable Prison for a reason. It has 1,000 guards, a literal bottomless pit, and crossbows that are literally 10 feet tall. No one is escaping out of this prison, except for Tai Lung. And he does it easily as well. The guy literally takes some explosions and literally blows up the door, killing thousands of guards. And he doesn't even bat an eyelid. Lord Shen, the first thing you see him do is literally genocide the pandas in a cutscene. And literally, with Kai, he literally defeats Master Oogway. Master Oogway. The same master we've been following throughout the entire series. The guy who literally founded Chi. Well, he didn't found Chi, but he did found Kung Fu. And he defeats him easily. But with the chameleon, what does she do? Well, she literally disguises herself as someone and then just pushes the guy down the stairs. That's it. That's the first thing we see her do. Boring. Just boring. And when you really think about the chameleon, why is she even a villain? Like, why is she even in this movie? She literally does nothing. And I think she only has like a 5 or 6 scenes in the whole movie. Now, a villain having minimum screen time is okay. I mean, look at Death from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. But what made Death work is because even though he wasn't on screen, you can still feel his presence throughout the movie. And I know I'm getting off topic here, but hear me out. Death in Puss in Boots 2 had just had this menacing feel to him. You feel as though he's always watching Puss throughout every corner. The way his whistle just echoes throughout the score. The way his intimidating body just traumatizes Puss. Wherever Puss goes, death always follows. But the chameleon, she doesn't have any of that. I mean, literally, you could have done literally anything with this woman. Like, have her like blend into the background, or have her be Shen, or have her be Zen, and be a twist villain. But still, she's just nothing. And if you really think about it, she's just a ripoff of Lord Shen, but done worse. She's literally a girl who just lives in a different city from the Kung Fu Panda world. Literally has an army of, well, lizards. Same as Lord Shen's army, but still. She's literally just a ripoff version of Shen. And the things she does in this movie are just lazy. Like, she just takes the chi of all the Kung Fu masters, including Tai Lung and Lord Shen, and my god, they did them dirty in this film. Like, seriously, they could have done a lot with Tai Lung and Lord Shen, but still, nothing. And she's just boring. Out of all the Kung Fu Panda villains, she's just the most boring one. Like, she doesn't do anything interesting in this movie, except for the final battle. And that's where my criticisms of her end. You see, the final battle of Kung Fu Panda 4 is actually pretty great. The cinematography, the soundtrack, and the chameleon, she really steps up her act. But still, my god, she's just awful. Just awful. And I can rewrite her in like 5 seconds. Probably even a day if you give me enough time. But still, there's one thing I've been avoiding in this film, and I'm talking about it right now. Why does this film even exist? Oh, wait, I know why. Yeah, that. But anyway, my point is that this film was just a disappointment to me. I know a lot of people don't like Kung Fu Panda 3, and I understand why. It's not the best of the main trilogy. But me personally, it ended the series in a great way. It gave us the strongest villain we've ever seen. It gave us a conclusion to Poe's arc, with his arc in this movie about being a great teacher and teaching Kung Fu to others. And personally, the ending of the film was just beautiful to me. And that's the way they should have ended the series, but no. They gave us the shallow, disappointing, boring movie instead with a mediocre villain whose motivations are just boring, bland, and just predictable plot lines and animation. And personally, Poe's just at his worst here. And personally, why did they cast Aquafina as Zen? Because that woman cannot make anything work. And no offense, she's got some great moments. But still, why did this film even exist? And I know why. So don't even get me started. But still, is it worse than Megamind 2? No, not by a long shot. That movie is way worse. But still, when compared to the original trilogy, this film will not be saying skadoosh.